Last one we're talking about, though, is Kansas at BYU, which is a 10:15 p.m. kick on ESPN. Really, the storyline, no, Dawn, is can BYU keep the magic alive right now? Because Indiana, we'll admit, has been the biggest Cinderella in college football this year, but BYU is a close second right now. They've doubled their preseason win total. They came into the year with a 4.5 win total. They're 9-0 right now. They've pulled off miraculous comebacks in 2 of their last 3 games, recently doing so in the Holy War against Utah when they were down by 2 with under 2 minutes left on their own 9-yard line, and Jake Retzloff led a 65-yard drive to kick the game-winning field goal at the buzzer as well. They'll look to continue their undefeated season this week against Kansas. Now, some fans might look at this and say, well, Kansas is 3-6. Why are you even talking about this game? That doesn't look good on paper. This is not a team you can overlook, though. Kansas most recently beat Iowa State, who was number 17 at the time. And of Kansas' 6 losses, they've lost by an average of 5 points. The only time this year they lost by more than 6 points was against TCU when they lost by 11. Every other game, every one other 5 losses has been by 6 points or fewer, honestly. So Kansas is really, I know they're 3-6, but they've been playing close in a lot of games, and they're coming off a huge win over Iowa State recently. They almost beat Kansas State a couple weeks ago as well. This is not a Kansas team to overlook.
Yeah, you want me to say something the Twitter trolls are just going to absolutely feast on for the rest of the week? You ready for this? Here's the way I'm going to put this. Kansas is a good team with a bad record.
Yeah. I guess what it is.
That's what they are. And the thing for me in this game, I'm just going to jump right into their offense. Look, they got a lot of stuff on offense, okay? Jalen Daniels, we've seen in the past, is really good, and he's shown moments, especially lately, of being good. Devin Neal, Daniel Highshaw, Daniels in the run game, really good stuff. Quentin Skinner and Luke Graham on the outside. They've got ballers on the outside too. Max, this is the 8th highest graded offense in the country. They're tied with Boise State for 8th. That's pretty darn good. I mean, they have the 8th highest, and they lost Andy Kotelnicki, their offensive coordinator, who's living up in Penn State right now. 8th highest team offense grade in the country. They've lost games just because of untimely turnovers and giving the football away, okay? Jalen Daniels, 9 interceptions this year, 8th most in the Power 4. Fumbled 8 times, including 2 really. They should have. If there was any game this year they should have won, it was the Kansas State game. He fumbled away 2 balls in the last 4 minutes of that game. They were ahead of Kansas State. Then they fell behind by 2 points. They were going down for a potential game-winning drive, and he fumbled again. Kansas right now, this team this season is just the epitome of not clutch.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, they're really good.
Against the most clutch team in the country. Yeah.
and a team in BYU they're going against who is tied with Alabama for 5th in the country in takeaways. Okay, this is the thing. To me, more than any scheme or any other whatever I could pull out of the film on this, if Kansas takes care of the football, I think this is like 10 out of 10 blaring alert for BYU in this game. This is a good team. And when they don't turn the football over, they look like a team that, honestly, I thought was going to win right around 9 games in the preseason. I thought this was going to be really good. And Jalen Daniels has been healthy all season. I know he's kind of recovering, dealing with a back issue earlier in the year, but this is a better team. This is a better team than the 3-6 record. This is a dangerous game. We just watched them beat Iowa State last week. And Iowa State, didn't they have the highest coverage grade in the conference?
Yeah.
And Kansas put 45 points on them last week. This is a problem. This team's a real problem. Devin Neal's a superstar, was one of our top 10 running backs. Jalen Daniels, I'll tell you what, the turnover-worthy plays are a problem. 5.5% turnover-worthy play rate this year, 3rd highest in the Power 4. Can't have it, but when he's not turning the ball over, he made 5 big-time throws last week.
Yep.
This is what he can do. High-end Jalen Daniels, people were talking about as like a day 2 pick in the NFL draft. Like, this team is an issue. And if they don't beat themselves, they're a serious issue. I think honestly, I've seen the spread on this game. I think BYU is only -3, and people are going to go, what in the hell? Like we did for the UCF game and the Baylor game, right? We were like, no, BYU's better. No, I think this one's warranted. I really do. I think Kansas is extremely dangerous, and even on the other side of the ball, you're going to get in some defensive stuff, but I think this is the sort of high-flying team now. Last week, it was a rivalry game. Utah's physical. They had a good game plan. They were going to blitz. This might be actually the best offense on the whole that BYU's played this season and that they're going to play all season. I think this could be the Jayhawks' speed Devin Neal, the outside receivers, Jalen Daniels moving around and making big throws, I think it could cause serious problems in this game, and it really comes down to, for Kansas, the turnover margin that has cost them in so many games this year. Tight game with UNLV, turning the ball over. Tight game with Illinois, turning the ball over. Should have beat K-State, turning the ball over. Like, it's just a constant issue. If they protect the football, they can absolutely win this game, and BYU and nobody around BYU should be taking this game lightly at all.
No, definitely not. And on the other side of the ball, it's really about getting after Jake Retzloff. So obviously, he's been like the biggest catalyst for BYU taking a massive jump as a team. He had a 46.7 passing grade in 2023 as 145th in the country. Reminder, there's 133 teams in college football. So there's some backup quarterbacks with a better passing grade than Jake Retzloff last year. This year, though, he's an 80.3 passing grade, is 26th in America. He's really good when defenses don't really get after him. You see right there, 90.9 passing grade when he's kept clean, is 12th in America. He's 6th in America with a 90.5 passing grade when he isn't blitzed either. Dawn, we actually interviewed Jake Retzloff a couple weeks ago, and we asked him about that number, the blitz number specifically. When he's not blitzed, 6th best in America. And we said, what is it that makes you so good when the defenses don't blitz you? He goes, man, it's so easy to identify what coverage they're in, honestly. He's like, when they blitz me, then obviously I'm sped up, and also I don't know what coverage they're in, and then I can force them to mistakes. And you see that too, because his 43.9 passing grade under pressure, that's 82nd in the country, and when he's blitzed, that drops to a 57.6. That's 115th in the country. So when defenses make a concerted effort to try to speed him up, he is not nearly as good as when he's kept clean and when he's not blitzed. So Kansas has done a pretty good job of getting after the quarterback this year. Right now, they're 36th in pressure rate at about 35%, but they're only 94th in blitz rate around 32%. I think this would be really wise to blitz a lot more this week to try to throw Jake Retzloff off his game, because if not, if you don't blitz him and you don't get after him, he's going to pick you apart.
And it's not just him. It's the blitzing, and it's because the blitzes are getting home. In the last couple of weeks, I believe the last 2 weeks have been BYU's 2 lowest graded games in pass protection. They've been battling injuries all year, especially from the center, Connor Pay. He's missed the last few games. I think you have a situation here where it just, look, when you're at the top and you're undefeated, teams study you just a little bit harder because, one, they want to be your first defeat, and two, they know they need to beat you to get where they want to go. And that might not be the case with Kansas, but we've seen with Kansas all year, and especially in their last few games. Look, they didn't care. They didn't care that Iowa State was, they had their season on the line and they were the ones in playoff contention. They're coming out and playing really good football. Again, when they're not turning the ball. The other matchup on that side, on your side, I want to mention there is just I think you have a really fun matchup between Chase Roberts and Darius Lassiter outside for BYU against a really, really underrated corner duo, Mello Dotson and friend of the show, Kobe Bryant. I think on the outside, that's the battle right there. I want to see if Kansas, are they just going to lock 2-on-2 like that? Are they going to go zone coverage, maybe a little zone blitz, mix it up like you mentioned? But I think you got a fun matchup with 2 really good receivers on the outside and 2 really good corners for Kansas on the outside as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, Dawn, ultimately, will BYU continue their undefeated season, or will Kansas play the role of spoiler?
Oh, they're going to be mad. I'll be honest with you. I don't usually go gut feeling. I don't like to. I hate my gut. It doesn't work so good, right? I eat too much crap for it to work right. I have Kansas 37-34. Wow. I'm high level of worried for this game, very high level, and I just that Kansas team is dangerous. I just think that matchup of Bryant and Dotson against the 2 receivers worries me, and I just know this game, it sounds weird, but I think BYU is actually kind of a constant right now. They play roughly the same level of football every week. They play really good complementary football. Their defense is like somewhere like B+, A-. Jake Retzloff's been obviously really good. Utah sent a ton of heat at him last week, and he battled through it, which I liked. I actually like. Some people don't like it. I like the fact that he and they battle through some of these closer games, through the Oklahoma State game, like battling through adversity. That's part of a season. And I think there's adversity coming this week. And I think the biggest thing is the one stat that would give me hope, obviously, as BYU, is that they're 5th in the country in takeaways. And Kansas, their whole disastrous scenario is turnovers. It can happen. It can absolutely happen. But I'm gonna take Kansas in this game. I'm very worried about it. Honestly, I think the spread in this game, the close spread in this game, is right. I think we got close to a coin flip in this game, and everyone's going to go, what in the hell? One team's 9-0 and the other's 3-6. That's not a normal 3-6 football team. They're not. And if BYU's not on absolute full alert in this, as much alert in this game as they were in last week's game, just as much. I don't care. I know that's rivalry on the road. This cannot be the trap game. This is like high urgency. Have to win this game, because on the outside, people aren't going to look at it the way we're looking at it right now. They're going to go, What do you mean you lost to a team that went 4-8, 4-8, or 5-7? That's pathetic. And I'm going to go, no, that team's a lot better than their record, and no one's going to listen. So I'm going to put it out there now. I have Kansas winning this game. I think it's much more of a coin flip than we think, and I think they do a lot of things on offense if they protect the ball that can bother BYU's defense.
Yeah, I do think that BYU is in trouble. I do think BYU is going to win, though. I have 31-27. You mentioned the corners before. They are a very good pair of corners. But overall, Dalton, Kansas is still only 81st in the nation in coverage grade this year.
I think actually a big key to this game for BYU is running the ball.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they've gotten the run game going with LJ Martin and Hinckley Rapati since they've gotten healthy, I think that's massive. If I'm BYU, I actually want to slow this game down and run the football here.
Yeah, I still got BYU winning this game. I think Redsloff will do enough against a team that really does not blitz that much. I don't know if they're going to be blitzing more in this game or not, but I think it'll do just enough. And I think BYU, I mentioned the takeaways and how BYU has been very good at taking the ball away. Jalen Daniels has been prone to that before. Now, if you don't force takeaways, then it gets a lot more dangerous, but I think they will get 2 or 3 takeaways probably in this game. And I think BYU will ultimately continue their undefeated season with a win over Kansas. And we have a guy in the chat right now, Dalton, saying, oh, thank you for picking against BYU because it hasn't really worked out too well.
I know, I've done it all year, trust me.
Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.